Welcome to the general explanation of the Summer Food Service Program training, brought to you by the Idaho Department of Education's Child Nutrition Programs SFSP team and CN Resource. By completing this training, you will earn a half hour of credit towards the annual Professional Standards and Trainings requirements. For those who participate in NSLP, this training falls under Section 3000, Administration, specifically 3200, Program Management. The purpose of this course is to provide a general overview of the Summer Food Service Program, also known as SFSP. This session will review basic program information, sponsor and site eligibility, responsibilities of the sponsor, and provide suggestions for program outreach. This course is designed as an initial introduction to SFSP. There are additional courses and resources that provide greater detail on program operation and the requirements that must be followed to maintain a compliant program. Now for our course objectives. By the end of this course, you'll be able to explain the purpose of the Summer Food Service Program, understand the different site types and site eligibility, explain the record-keeping requirements for SFSP, and provide program outreach and site-level activity suggestions. Our key areas of understanding correspond to the different lessons within the course. We will go deeper into the purpose of the program, sponsor eligibility and responsibilities, site types and eligibility, record-keeping requirements, and site activities and outreach. On to our first key area, the purpose of the program. This section will explain the Summer Food Service Program, review the eligible program participants, outline some of the differences between Summer Food Service Program, or SFSP, the National School Lunch Program, or NSLP, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program, also known as CACFP. Lastly, we'll review the division of responsibilities for the operation of SFSP. Now let's talk a little about the background of SFSP. SFSP is a federally funded program by the United States Department of Agriculture, or the USDA. The program is administered by the State Department of Education in Idaho. There are no individual income requirements for children. This means that any child 18 years old and younger can receive a free meal, no questions asked. Sponsors may operate SFSP during unanticipated closures, such as snow days, so that children are not left without a meal. Prior approval is required if serving SFSP at some of these non-traditional times. SFSP provides free meals and snacks to children ages 18 and younger in low-income areas during the summer months when school meals are not available. Many children around our state and in your own local community rely on the National School Lunch and School Breakfast programs for meals during the school year. When school is out, SFSP helps ensure that the kiddos have nutritious meals when school isn't in operation. Hunger doesn't take a summer vacation, and many children may go hungry if it weren't for summer meal programs. Now to talk about the regulations behind SFSP. In addition to SFSP, SDE administers additional child nutrition programs, and each program falls under a separate code of federal regulations. As you'll see below, the different codes, also known as CFR, are listed for each of the different programs. This means that each program has different rules and requirements. So even if you are familiar with an additional program, please be aware that SFSP is different and has some of its own unique requirements. You'll see below that the Code of Federal Regulations is listed for National School Lunch, Child and Adult Care Food Program, and SFSP. In addition, civil rights and financial management are outlined in regulations. So how is SFSP different? First off, let's talk reimbursement. SFSP has a different reimbursement rate than NSLP and CACFP. In addition, SFSP allows for reimbursement of second meals, served for up to 2% of the first meals claimed for reimbursement. That's a little confusing, so let's look at an example. If the sponsor serves 100 meals, they can claim an additional 2 second meals if seconds were served. Let's talk meal pattern. SFSP has its own meal pattern. However, for sponsors who are currently operating the National School Lunch Program, they have the option to continue using the NSLP meal pattern or can use the SFSP meal pattern. Please contact the state agency if your school is interested in this option. Next, we have the division of responsibilities. Under SFSP, there are 3 main entities involved. The state agency administers the program and communicates directly with USDA. The state agency is responsible for recruiting sponsors, publicizing the program, providing training to sponsors, monitoring sponsors, and processing claims and distributing the reimbursement funds. Sponsors run the program and communicate with the state agency. They are responsible for recruiting sites, providing training to the sites and monitoring, reporting meal counts, submitting claims for reimbursement, and conducting outreach to promote sites. Lastly, we have sites, who are responsible for serving children free meals in a safe and supervised environment. Their daily duties may include preparing food, documenting meals served, and maintaining a high level of food safety. Time for our first knowledge check. I will read you the question and potential answers, give you a moment for you to determine the best response, and then we'll check to see how you did. SFSP provides free meals and snacks to children between the ages of A, 12 and younger, B, 18 and younger, or C, 21 and younger. If you answered 18 and younger, you're correct. There are no individual income requirements for children under the Summer Food Service Program. True or false? This is true. SFSP allows second meals up to blank of the first meals to be claimed for reimbursement. A, 3%, B, 1%, or C, 2%. 2%. So SFSP allows second meals up to 2% of the first meals to be claimed for reimbursement. There are 3 main entities involved in SFSP. These include A, state agency, sponsors, and administrative staff, B, state agency, sponsors, and site staff, or C, state agency, sponsors, and sites. The correct answer is C. The 3 main entities involved in SFSP are the state agency, the sponsors, and the sites. Sites are responsible for serving children free meals in a safe and supervised environment. True or false? This is absolutely true. Our next key area is sponsor eligibility and responsibilities. This section will review the general requirements for sponsor participation and explain the general requirements for sponsors. In regard to sponsor eligibility, A sponsor will receive federal reimbursement from the state agency to cover the administrative and operating costs of preparing and serving meals to eligible children at one or more meal sites, so long as the sponsor is a public or private nonprofit, school food authority, college or university, residential summer camp, a local state or federal government, or any other type of private nonprofit organization. The sponsor must be tax exempt, and they must demonstrate the administrative and financial ability to manage food service effectively. They are required to provide a year-round public service in the area in which they provide the summer food program. Sponsors have numerous responsibilities when it comes to operating SFSP. They're required to maintain and oversee paperwork, train and monitor all staff and sites, perform financial and procurement duties, communicate with the state agency, and receive administrative reviews from SDE and or the USDA. Part of these responsibilities rely heavily on documentation. Here's a list of documentation requirements. You must retain the documentation for 3 years plus the current year. Records need to be accessible for federal and state agency personnel for audit and review purposes. One exception to the 3-year rule is the permanent agreement. This document is the organization's agreement with the state agency to operate any of the 3 of the USDA-funded child nutrition programs. This is often known as your application. This permanent agreement must be kept on record for the entirety of the program, plus 3 years after the sponsor drops the program. Knowledge check round 2. The SFSP sponsor is responsible for A. Training and monitoring all staff and sites. B. Communicating with the state agency. C. Performing financial and procurement duties. Or D. All of the above. If you said D, all of the above, you're correct. All of these responsibilities fall under the SFSP's sponsor umbrella. Sponsors are required to retain all program documents for blank years plus blank year. A, 2 plus the current year, B, 3 plus the current year, or C, 4 plus the current year. The correct answer is B. Sponsors are required to retain all program documents for 3 years plus the current year. Sponsors must be A. Public or private nonprofit schools, B. Residential camps, C. Local government agencies, or D. Any of the above. The answer is D. Any of the above can become an SFSP sponsor. Our next key area is site types and eligibility. This section will outline the eligibility requirements for open sites, outline the eligibility requirements for closed sites, and then discuss restrictions for school sites. There are several different site types in SFSP. You've got closed sites and open sites. And within those two, there are several different types of sites that qualify. For closed sites, upward bound programs, day and residential camps, and closed enrolled sites are all considered a closed site. Under open sites, you have open sites and open migrant sites. Let's look at these in a little more detail. Open sites are the most common type of summer food sites and are open to all children through the age of 18. Open sites may serve up to 2 meals per day and can serve a combination of any of the meals shown below. We have breakfast, lunch, supper, and snack. However, lunch and supper cannot be served on the same day at the same site. The second category of sites are closed sites. These are less common than open sites, and they are closed to the general public. Depending on the type of closed site, these may operate 2 or 3 meals per day, and they can serve a combination of any of the meals shown below. This includes breakfast, lunch, supper, or snack. Let's continue to dive deeper into site types and eligibility.
Open site eligibility. Sponsors may use data from elementary, middle, or high school as long as the site is in the attendance area of the school where at least 50% of children are eligible for free or reduced price school meals. Or, sponsors may use the census data where sites are located wherein 50% or more children are eligible for free and reduced price school meals are considered area eligible. Or open sites may also qualify based on their migrant status. Migrant sites requires a letter from a migrant organization or the school district's migrant coordinator certifying that the sites serve predominantly migrant children. Migrant sites are eligible to serve an additional meal each day. Once the site is approved as eligible, it is considered eligible for 5 program years. Now let's talk about closed site eligibility. With closed sites, only enrolled children are eligible to receive meals. Enrolled sites are operated by a private, nonprofit organization that provide a year-round service for low-income children. Eligibility is determined by income eligibility from applicants for the children in the program. Let's talk about campsite eligibility. Campsites are eligible to operate a closed enrolled site if they offer a regularly scheduled food service as part of their residential or day camp program. Reimbursement is based on child-to-child basis, as it's determined by their free or reduced meal price applications. Residential camps can claim up to 3 meals per day. Upward Bound programs residential camps can only claim children that qualify based on the Upward Bound guidelines and can claim up to 3 meals per day. Let's talk about closed enrolled site requirements now. Closed enrolled sites have different requirements from those of open sites. Because eligibility is determined on an individual basis for each child, there must be an income eligibility form on file for each enrolled child. Make sure to double-check for completion and accuracy of each form. Closed enrolled sites must have a roster listing all enrolled children, and meal counts must be taken by each child's name. Sponsors must ensure proper oversight of their summer feeding programs and must comply with site restrictions. Sponsors maintain management control over all sites. The ultimate responsibility falls on the sponsor and cannot delegate management duties to other parties. This includes FSMC. Sponsors must also ensure all sites operate within Idaho. They cannot have more than 200 sites or oversee 50,000 average daily participation. Sponsors operating in an unaffiliated site should sign an agreement with those sites prior to operations. Unaffiliated sites are locations sponsors do not own, lease, or operate. The agreement should list the specific terms and responsibilities of the site supervisor. This will make it easier for the site personnel to understand their duties. Let's talk about school site restrictions now. No meals or snacks can be served in the classroom. The eating area must be a congregate area open to all students and potential participants from the community. The school sponsors should be aware that they cannot operate on closed sites. Summer schools may offer a staggered meal service for students and community children. For example, a busing schedule would require summer school students to eat quickly before catching their bus. A summer school site may have meal service for the student prior to the meal service for community children. The sponsor must make the state agency aware of the staggered meal service, and it must be identical in locations and meals provided. Indicate your plans for staggered service in question number 29 of the site application. Sponsors are responsible for serving only during dates and times that have been approved by the state agency. It is important to maintain accurate serving dates and times in your site application because this is what the state agency utilizes to communicate site information to the public. Site staff is responsible for knowing the correct serving and service times within the approved timeline. Meals served outside of the dates and times that have been submitted to the state agency are not eligible for reimbursement and will be disallowed.
The state agency makes the information regarding site locations, times, and dates available to the public. It's made available to all patrons in the state through the Idaho Summer Food website. You'll see here the information can be accessed through the USDA Meals for Kids site locator by texting Summer Meals to 97779 or calling 211, which is Idaho's care line. Each method will provide information on close by sites that are providing meals. Time for another knowledge check. Which is the most common type of summer food site which is open to all children 18 and younger? A closed site. B, open migrant site. C, open site. Or D, an upward bound program. The answer is C. Open sites are the most common type of SFSP sites. Residential camps may claim up to blank meals per day. A, 3, B, 2, or C, 1. The answer is 3. Residential camps can claim up to 3 meals per day. As a reminder, open sites can only claim up to 2 meals per day. Closed enrolled eligibility is determined by individual child eligibility. True or false? This is true. Sponsors cannot oversee more than blank sites. A, 50 sites, B, 100 sites, C, 150 sites, or D, 200 sites. The answer here is D. Sponsors cannot oversee more than 200 sites. And remember, they must all be within the state of Idaho. Sponsors are responsible to only serve and claim meals served during the dates and times approved by the state agency. True or false? This is true. You can only serve and claim the meals for reimbursement that are served during the dates and times that are approved on your application. Our next key area is record-keeping requirements. This section will review record-keeping requirements for SFSP. Creating and maintaining accurate records is essential for SFSP. These records, such as meal counts, menus, and receipts, are proof that reimbursable meals were served. If the state agency reviews your program and these records are incomplete or incorrect, they may have to recover reimbursement funding. You should make sure that your site staff, supervisors, and administrative staff are all trained in what constitutes a reimbursable meal and how to fill out the correct paperwork. Having a great filing system in place helps to ensure that records and documentation is easily accessed. Organization is key to keeping adequate records, which support the operation of your program. Prior to operating, you'll want to develop a system to complete the required documentation. Then, you'll train your staff on how to complete the documentation properly, how to maintain the specific paperwork according to your system. If there is any doubt regarding your process or proper completion of documentation and forms, you'll want to consult with the appropriate source. So site staff should ask their supervisors. Supervisors should ask administrative staff, and administrative staff should ask the state agency. Remember, it's always better to verify the information is correct before you assume anything. Another knowledge check. Meal counts, menus, and receipts are proof that reimbursable meals were served. True or false? This is true. Meal counts, menus, and receipts are all types of documentation that help to support that reimbursable meals were served. If the state agency reviews your program and records are incorrect, what is a consequence? A, a written warning, B, suspension, or C, the state may need to recover reimbursement funding. The answer is C. In cases where records are incorrect, the state may need to recover reimbursement funding. If unsure on how to complete documentation correctly, who should administrative staff ask? Supervisors, state agency, or site staff? The answer is B, the state agency. When administrative staff is unsure on how to complete documentation, they should consult with the state agency. Our last key area of understanding relates to site activities and outreach. This section will provide ideas for program outreach and provide examples for site activities to increase participation. Outreach is considered any marketing, advertising, or promotional effort that increases awareness about SFSP. One of the easiest ways to spread the word about summer food programs is to distribute flyers and other promotional materials such as bookmarks. Sponsors may use their own materials or utilize items made available for print on the USDA and SDE SFSP websites. Sponsors should consider reaching out to local health agencies, grocery stores, and social service organizations to assist in the distribution of outreach materials to patients, customers, parents, clients, etc. Another way to create excitement about your program is to host a kickoff event. Kickoff events help build awareness among parents and community adults to educate and create excitement around your summer food program. Additional events during the middle of the summer, known as spike events, help sustain enthusiasm to keep participation high. For additional ideas or more information related to outreach, visit the USDA Summer Meals Toolkit. Activities are considered a best practice to incorporate into your summer meal site, especially because it helps increase participation. Now, some sites, like a local library, community pool, or summer camp, have the activity already built in. But check out these other examples: coloring contests, reading activities, bring a buddy day, attendance certificates, sports, games, and even fruit and vegetable tastings are all examples of activities that you can provide at your summer meal site. Our last knowledge check. Sponsors may use their own materials for marketing, advertising, or promotional efforts that increase awareness about SFSP. True or false? This is true. You can create your own materials or utilize materials provided by USDA and SDE. Another way to create excitement about your program is to host a blank event. A kickoff event, B, a pizza event, or C, a pajama event. Now, all three might be a great way to create excitement, but a kickoff event is certainly a best practice. Events during the middle of the summer, known as spike events, do not help maintain high participation. True or false? This is false. Spike events are a great way to help maintain high participation. To conclude our training, the Summer Food Service Program is designed to provide meals to children 18 and younger when school meals are not available. This may include meal service during the summer, when school is not in session, or in emergency scenarios when schools may be closed for other circumstances. School districts and nonprofits are eligible to be SFSP sponsors. There are different requirements for each. Within an SFSP sponsor, there can be different types of sites, either open or closed. Eligibility requirements for the sites vary based on the site type. Now remember, all sponsors must maintain documentation to support the program operations and their claim for reimbursement. So in summary, the purpose of the Summer Food Service Program is to provide meals at no cost to children up to age 18. There are different eligibility requirements for different sponsors and different site types. And remember, all sponsors must maintain their required records and provide program outreach.